two ladies that you need to know. It is Michelle and Sandy from the podcast Wines to Find. Thank you for joining me, ladies. Everybody, hey.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. Hi, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm a little energetic, but today, that's because I had coffee about an hour ago getting this prepped. And so they say I don't need coffee. I agree with them, but you know what? Today, because you're going to teach us about wine and wine etiquette. And I get so lost about when it comes to ordering wine, what to order, how to order it. But before we even get that far, tell us a little bit about who you are and how did you get started with this podcast and what made you such wine enthusiasts?
Okay, sure. Michelle, why don't you go ahead and take it first?
We always have liked wine, from our early 20s.
We're sisters.
We're sisters. That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
So, and before we, you kind of see a little bit, before we got busy with kids and family and everything, we would, both journal about our wines and the wine books and
we both took notes. We were both a little geeky about it from the get-go.
Yeah. And Sandy got into food and wine pairings fairly early in her marriage. And that would be something that she and her husband would do, would be, always have a wine that went appropriately with the meal. So then you cut to, a lot of years later and kids have taken over our lives, including my oldest, who, when she was in college, she got a scholarship to do a Maymester in Europe. And she said, well, why don't you come with me and meet me in France? And I was like, okay. And so I said something to Sandy.
I'm going.
I want to go. So, yeah. Well, too late. We went. But I kind of had this moment of panic because I was like, I can't go to France. I haven't been learning about wine. I haven't been studying about wine. I'm too far behind to go. And so we didn't do a lot on that trip with wine because, panic. But when we got back, we said, well, the kids are older, let's.
And this was spring of 2019.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So
Right
we said, well, let's go back to our roots of doing something with wine and let's podcast about it. And that'll be our journal. And so every episode we try 2 wines that we've never had before. And we just kind of started and it took off from there. And
we started in January of 2020 and that was our launch. So we are now just dropped episode 162, I believe it was today as we're talking. So we have really just been doing a lot of wine tasting, getting together and developing our palate.
Now, I was in Kentucky last year for a friend's birthday. We went out there and we did the Bourbon Trail, right? We didn't do all of them because there's so many, but
it's high on my list.
Yes, I fell in love with it, but came back and I remember I tasted some bourbon that was in a wine barrel and it just tasted so unique. And it brought me back to, look, wine has been around for so long. It's so delicious. And so for me, it's like, you got reds, you got whites, you got cabs, it's like, I'm a salmon guy. I mean, how do you pair? How do you know with so many selections and a person like me who's in the city and we're running around all day, it's like you want to get a gift and you're like, okay. What am I going to order here?
Well, we've actually
covered both those topics.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of what you just have said. We've actually just recently published a gifting episode about how do you do that? What if you don't know what they even like? So we kind of even discuss that. We also really have delved into wine pairings and how to do that. You hear people say red wine with red meats, white wine with fish is kind of where you start, but it's a little more nuanced than that. It more has to do with the texture of the wine and the weight and the feel. And then you have to kind of get to know a little bit more about what what varieties there are, what types of grapes. Like you just mentioned, you're a Cabernet Sauvignon and a Malbec lover. So
Mm,
what I would suggest people do is think about the main international grapes. There's 6 of the big ones. Kind of start looking at those and then delve into the regions. For example, you
ah,
said you like Malbec.
yes.
So if you know you like that, South America is extremely popular for Malbec. So once you kind of know what those taste like from that region, then maybe hop over to Australia and try one from there, so that way you
Um,
get an idea what it tastes like in different regions, because it
mm,
does matter where the grape
with
grows.
the grape
A
grows.
lot.
Wow.
Hmm.
And so for a newbie, right? Like you don't know what you're ordering. And so we know that the standard or the basic start is red with red meat, right? White with fish and chicken, right? But like you said, it's more
That's basic.
complex than that, right? That's just like the beginning, right? And then from there,
And then, of course, you can always break those rules. So don't let those fool you.
see,
And it depends. Some reds are a little lighter and finer, like a Pinot Noir is
Hmm.
is a lighter red, so you might not want to have that necessarily with a steak, which is a heavy meat. So
oh,
you have to think about how
mm,
heavy the meal is, and then you
mm.
want to have it the weight of the wine be comparable
A lot of
to
it is in
that.
texture.
Hmm.
Wow. And so, I mean, I think you guys have tried I mean, how many bottles of wine do you think? I mean, I don't say how many bottles of wine have you drank, but I guess from from where, how many from all over the world, or how many, like there's wine from everywhere, right?
Right. So when we started, we knew that in order to learn about wine, the biggest thing you have to do is drink wine.
Sure.
In order to
Hmm.
grow truly grow your palate, you
Got
actually
it.
have to drink a lot of wine, which we were on board for.
Mm.
So 162 episodes at a minimum of 2 per episode.
Hmm.
That's your baseline. Some episodes we've had 5, some episodes we've had 3, some episodes we've had 4, and then we don't just drink wine on the podcast.
Hmm.
So a lot of wine over the last several
But
years.
we also, whenever we do that, we taste. So
Hmm.
you take a taste, and you may spit, or you may only
Yeah.
have just a half ounce. So you're, even though you may go to a tasting and you may drink 5 or 6 different wines, you may not
You're not drinking all the
drink it. You're
bottle.
not drinking that all of that.
Mhm.
You're not okay. So I love chicken and fish. I'm not a red meat guy anymore. I used to be, but of course, as I get older, it's like, you got to cut some stuff off. Doctor's like, hey.
Hmm.
So now it's like I love fish and I love chicken, and I don't know much about certain whites. And then I'm like, man, just give me an old fashioned. And so for me, I don't want to do that. I want to share that with my wife. My wife loves a cab, and she loves having her crab cakes with a white wine. And so I want to enjoy that too, and they're like, oh, do you taste that? I'm like, no, I don't. I want to find that too. So what can we look for as newbies? Like, if for those who want to dive in, right? We got to drink wine, but so what do we look for? Like when we go to the store, or when we're at a restaurant, is there something that you go to automatically, Michelle, or Sandy? Like, do you both have a go to and say,
I would break that down into 2 things. First, because tasting is its own, and getting to the experience of connecting with the wine, the first thing
okay,
you want to do is know that your nose and your mouth are integrated.
mm,
And so
okay.
when you first take a wine,
Yeah, let's
you
go ahead and
yeah,
walk
well,
them
Why
through
this
the
is
don't
what
we
yeah,
process.
this is yeah.
try that
You've
right
got some wine. Yeah,
now?
let's
Yeah,
do
let's
that.
go ahead
So
and let's go ahead and we'll
so
start. This is how whenever we
can
do
I
it on our
ask you?
podcast. Yeah, sure.
Can I ask you etiquette? Because I I don't have much wine etiquette. So how do I pour it? Right? Like if I'm on a date with my wife, and is there a certain way do I pour it? Like we're used to pouring our beer. Like, hey,
No,
like
in the glass. Just don't knock it over. Yeah, pour it in. Yeah. And some people you'll see might in order to keep it from dribbling, might wrap a napkin around it or
And then they
something.
kind of twist,
Yeah,
and then
twist the bottle, give the bottle a little twist
so
to
it
keep
kind
it
of keeps
from.
in.
okay,
There you
okay,
go.
that's good to
Yeah.
know. All right. Okay.
But so the first thing that so if you're doing a tasting, the first thing, and then we do this on every episode, we have the wine already
Mm.
poured, but when we go to have our wine number one, which is what this is,
Ah,
we look at the wine first and we look at the color to
okay.
see
And that gives you a lot of hints about it, how
what
old
might
it
be in the
is,
glass.
what maybe the grape may be, what it may smell like. So
Hmm.
you're the intensity. You also want to look at the clarity of it and see if it's bright. Really, that's kind of the big thing, is just seeing if it's bright, if it's been filtered or not filtered. And those are all things that you'd have to learn later on, but just kind of noticing what it looks like.
Sure.
There's no trick to it. Just kind of give it a swirl. And then in the bowl, what you'll see is some people will call that legs, but you have the residue coming down as
Yes.
the water, the liquid in the glass gets higher, and then you bring it back down. Then what's left there is called legs sometimes. But what you're looking for there is for how thick it may be, and those are indicators to how much alcohol might be in the wine,
Ah,
as well as
The
how the
finger and
mouthfeel
how
might
long it
feel.
lingers.
I
Yep.
can see the legs.
Means the higher alcohol. If it runs down quickly, it's probably going to be less viscous and less alcohol. If it goes fast,
Yeah, and if it stays down there and and those legs really it drips down a lot, then what you're seeing is there might be some heft in that glass. So the next thing that you do after you swirl it around a little bit is you go ahead and you stick your nose in the glass and smell it.
Mm.
Always be careful not to let it hit the nose, because then
somehow
you're
I think that's just you.
it happens to me a lot. It does a lot. It goes right up the nose. So,
Especially after
I'm
one
sticking my
already,
nose
you're
way
like,
in there.
whoops, oopsie, you
Ooh,
already got one on me.
All right, so this one is not very intense. You want to see, how is the aroma? Is it really going to jump out at you, or is it very polite? So you want to describe the
Mm.
intensity of the aroma. Then you want to see if you can identify anything. And what I would do, especially as a newbie, I would start off with fruits, basic fruits. Does it smell more fruity? Or does it smell more herbaceous, vegetable, or do you smell rosemary or earth? I would start very basic like
Mm.
that, because
Mhm.
a lot of people, when they smell this, they go, it smells like grapes.
Smells like alcohol.
Smells like
So you want to get a
alcohol.
little bit beyond
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So just
Yeah.
stop and think about it. Okay, is it more earthy or herbaceous or fruity? And then if you really want to get a little technical, you can say, oh, is it red fruit or black fruit? And then you start going down and thinking about all the different things that you've had before.
How about if,
Okay.
like, for me, newbie, I'm like, okay, it smells like grapes, but we can't really distinguish it. Have you ever been
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's one of those things that the more often you do it, then you're going to be able to pick up more, because you're training your nose and your mouth to work together.
And you will also start to learn, like yours is a
Good.
Malbec. Yours is going to probably be blackberry, smoky, with a little bit of tobacco.
Yes.
Just
Maybe
because,
I didn't know that though. No wonder I like it.
well, now that you know, now that I just smelled, now that I just told you that, smell it again, and then taste it and see if you get any of that.
Salud.
Salud.
Salud. Cheers.
Amazing. You're right. Wow, how I tasted that now when I didn't even have an idea. I couldn't distinguish it. It's hard to grapes and alcohol, right? It's what you taste, but when you talk to someone like yourself that can able to walk you through it, and oh, that makes a lot of sense now. Okay, that was so helpful. I think I need another sip on this one.
So now we can go back to your question about the food pairing. We in our episode 4, we had that one is labeled "Bring Out Your Inner Chatty Cathy," and what we say is when you're going to either dinner or to the wine store, you want to, if especially if you know if you're going to purchase wine for dinner, know in advance what you're going to have
Mhm.
for dinner helps, because then you can say, well,
Ah,
I'm going to have this for dinner. Let's say you're going to have lasagna. What would go well with lasagna? And then
mm,
the people at the store will be able to kind of direct you towards that. And if you're at dinner and there's a wine steward or a som, they're also going to be trained to help point those things
And
out.
then I'll piggyback upon that. Once you know what you're going to have for dinner, either at the restaurant or at home, then you could then say, I like white wine, or for yours, I enjoy red wines more so than white wines. And then they may delve into what exactly do you like about red wines. And then that will help direct people instead of saying, what's the best wine I should get on this list? Everybody is subjective.
True.
Yeah.
And everyone's palate is so different too, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's not just cost does not always correlate with taste. A lot of people
Yeah.
think, oh, well, just give me the most expensive bottle on the menu and it's going to be fantastic. Well, not
No.
necessarily. If you don't like that, then no, it doesn't matter how much you spend, you're not going to like it. So you really do have to think about what you like and then describe what you like so that you can be sure that you're going to like what is offered to you.
That makes so much sense because when, my wife says, I need you to go buy a couple bottles of wine for some of the attorneys or whatever. I'm like, well, how do you choose? Like, are they reds, whites? And then even that's just the starting point. How do you know what you're getting him? Right. And so you go there and you say, well, it's for an attorney. And they're like, well, lawyers usually like this. And then they just point you to an area and it's okay. I
Oh,
guess
this is
I'll
the lawyer section over here.
this is the doctor section.
That's one way to do
that's the
it.
That's
best way
cute.
to do it. Yeah. But again, for me, it's learning and being able to pass that down to people that want to learn as well, right? It's so funny you said that because I wanted to ask that question about budget. Like you said, well,
Mhm.
the most expensive, it doesn't mean that you're going to get the best taste in the world. Well, how about people like to say, look, I'm getting into wine, although I have a budget. What can they get for that's good for starting point for $25 and under? I know that you can give me a big list, but for people that are a red Malbec, for example, like, but again, I want to break the rules. I like to do that, and so yeah, I mean, $25 budget, and that's still going to make an impression on the palate and on the date, perhaps.
You can definitely get some good quality wine, and from between the 15 to $30, you can really find some excellent ones. So you don't have to spend bukudos of money. That is still actually technically considered what do they call it? The luxury.
Luxury.
It's
Anything
actually
over $20 is considered high end in wine terms because most
Oh,
people don't spend that. I mean, nowadays with everything going up and up and up, that might be changing. You know
yeah.
that.
But that $20 range, you should be able to get something that's really very excellent.
Mhm.
And I'm a little hesitant to say go by X producer
sure.
because what we have found
Mm,
is you may not be able to get it in your region, and that if you do have that X producer, it may be more of a large producer that may not fit your exact lifestyle requirements.
interesting.
Maybe you personally would prefer something that's organic or biodynamic, which a lot of times those are more smaller producers. So you
Hmm.
would go and have that. I know a lot of people are really watching what they eat and what they put into their body. So that goes to how farming practices. So you would have to think about that too. So for us, we do enjoy looking at the smaller producers and boutique
Yeah.
owners,
Oh.
and you should still be able to source wine under $30. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, no, that does answer the question because the variety is big, and again, especially for someone who's learning and they're enthusiastic about it, then they're gonna dive in.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna dive in, and they're gonna learn different ones and different varieties, and they're gonna pair it up in a different way.
I do have a suggestion. Stay out of the
Yes,
grocery
please.
store.
Oh, that's interesting. So, and that's where we go get
So
our wine usually, right?
yeah, well, that's what happened to us is we were just grabbing what was ever
Mhm.
throwing in the grocery cart on our weekly grocery run, and then you get into the rut and you're probably only drinking two or three wines and they're probably owned by the
Same
same
producer.
conglomerate,
Yeah.
and so you're not really getting a lot of variety. So one thing, if you have that $25, there's some cheats that you can do. You can look at some value regions so your dollar stretches a little further. If you're looking for a Napa cab,
Mm,
your buy-in is
yeah.
It's
X
going to be, yeah,
dollars.
it's
If you're
going to be at
looking,
least $65.
yeah, if you're looking for a champagne, a true champagne from France, that's going to have a buy-in minimum of $45. Whereas if you just
for
want
for good
for
quality.
well,
Good
I mean, no,
quality.
minimum champagne. I
Well,
mean, if from
well,
actual champagne
yeah.
is,
Is from France,
but
right?
if you get a Crémant, yes, but if you get a Crémant, which is a sparkling made in France anywhere outside of Champagne, then it could still be very similar quality, just not that name tag on it. And then there's Cava and Prosecco. So there's just things to learn, little cheats that make your wine dollar
It's
stretch.
It's yesterday I was on your website and I did see how you said champagne and Cremant. What's that? It's
Crémant.
like,
It's Crémant.
right. Of course, I just read it and I'm like, well, I'm sure they're going to correct me when I massacre it. But um, yeah, I honestly, I don't judge me. I never even heard of it. What is it? It's like a
So
champagne.
it literally Crémant indicates it's a
Cremant.
sparkling
Hmm.
made in France anywhere other than Champagne is pretty much what a Crémant is. And it's just
You just can't call it champagne because the Champagne region it's an appellation. So it by law only wines from that specific region can be called champagne. Everywhere else, it's sparkling wine, and then so sect is where sect is sparkling wine in Germany,
Cava is sparkling
in Spain,
and Prosecco is, and they're all
Italy.
many of the. If you see a sparkling wine, what you're looking for is method champenois, which means it's made in the traditional method, as in
So cool.
Champagne.
This is so
Yeah,
cool.
but yeah, so there's
This is
just
so
so
cool.
much to know.
It's so cool. We need an extended edition of this episode because now I want to drink more wine with you guys. This is so cool. All right. So
Well, you just
all
have
right.
to
So for people,
listen to our podcast.
yeah. Well, I downloaded it and it's on my top podcasts, and I'm
oh,
like, I'm
cool.
gonna so listen to them because you guys are informative and you guys are awesome and friendly and we love that. We love that. And speaking of, like, you
Thank
got a
you.
website. You guys are doing tours. Tell us about what you guys got going on. Where do people find you? Because I went on there and I was like, whoa, website, tour. And like, you guys have a lot going on. Tell us a little bit about how we can find you. How can people get involved if they want to learn more about what you're doing?
So if you want to listen to us, we're on all podcast, most podcast sites. So
Yeah.
Audible,
Most
um,
platforms.
most platforms.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Most platforms.
Spotify, Audible, Apple, iTunes. Pretty much, if it's a podcast venue, we're on it. If you're
So
looking
cool.
for information about us, we are on social. We're on
Instagram, Wines to Find podcast, Facebook, Twitter. Our website is probably not the best information. We really don't use it very often. We do have a
I
link
thought it was
tree.
cool though.
Well, thank you. We do have a link tree that we try to put new information, like getting up on our newsletters, so that way you do, especially if you're local. We're doing wine dinners and
wine tastings,
wine dinners,
some
wine
education.
events, pop ups.
And if you're,
And
and we do some virtual events as well.
so yes, that okay. So this is okay. Whew, getting excited over here. All right. So when is your next event for people that are going to get on here? Because I'm going to get a chef that I'm going to interview as well, Chef Didier. He's a
Yeah.
French
Yes.
chef here in Chicago, well known, and I want to be able to kind of get some of your advice and bring it onto the show as well with him. So I'm excited. But when is your next event or tour or something that people can jump on and support?
Our next virtual is with Didier, and that is in we're going to help. We'll guide them on the wine. I don't know that we're participating because the date got changed, and so I don't know how much Wines to Find will be involved. But Didier has been on the show, and he's great. He's awesome, and Chicago folks know who he is. He had a restaurant
And
there.
we actually interviewed him 2 episodes ago, episode 159. So if people are curious about listening to his, so they can listen to both yours and ours.
Yeah, and he's gonna do something great. His menu looks fantastic. I believe it's canard, which is duck, some creme brulee, and then he's got in a poached pear salad, and he's pairing all of those with a wine. So a wine suggestion. Yeah,
I'm excited. I met him right before the holidays. I went to his house. His kitchen is chef's kitchen, of course. He lives not so far from my house, actually. And so, yeah, I know, right? but I'm excited. I'm excited to do this episode with him, and I'm so excited that you ladies were on here and took the time. I mean, who am I that you would think of me? You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate your time. But
Well, we appreciate the invite.
oh, for sure, for sure. Before we leave, I like to play. This is a new game that I just started, and that's just to, I'd like to just add something to the episode. It's called Hot Mic, and it's just kind of asking people questions about, like maybe do's and don'ts and likes and dislikes. And I have
We do something
questions.
similar with our winemakers.
Oh, yeah. I want to try to be organic with some of those things here. That's why I like that. You're going to have me drinking wine tonight, guys. All right. All right.
It's Thursday.
Here
It's
we
okay.
go. There we go. What city had the
Yeah.
best wine selection or experience other than Napa Valley? Ooh.
I have to say, we went. So I have to retract my don't buy from the grocery store with this one, because we went to Sedona, which is near.
Well, I guess if you
California.
live near a wine country,
If you live near, and we were amazed. We were like kids in a candy shop when we got to their wine selection. We were like, oh my gosh, they have this, they have this, they have this. So that would be one of the only things that I would say is if you're in a resort area or a town that's near Napa, and that's why
we're wine country. So
Wine
Sonoma,
country,
Sedona, and
Sonoma.
any of those places that produce wine, their
Then it's
grocery
okay to
stores
go to
they're going to be higher. They're going to have a better selection.
or if you're in an area where those folks might be traveling to, like Sedona,
Mhm.
then you kind of have to know that, oh, this is the kind of a crowd that's going to know wine, so they step it up a notch. But for me, that was kind of an eye opener.
I was gonna say they step it up, right? Location, the demand, and yeah, if you're gonna be close to, wine, an area where people love wine, you can't have cheap stuff. All right, okay, that was good. That was good. What about the worst? Ooh, were you like, ooh, this place actually was not good?
Okay, I do have that one. I
got it
I
too.
guess it was about 10, 15 years ago. I went to a steak restaurant in Sevierville County, Tennessee, and thought I was going to be able to order a Cabernet Sauvignon with my delicious steak and potato. They're a dry county.
Oh no. You get that in the South sometimes.
Okay. Okay. Nothing else besides that. That was it. Okay.
That's it. That's it.
Okay.
I had my water.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you got some water. All right.
If it wasn't
From
my
the boat?
birthday, I wouldn't have cared.
Oh, for sure. That just no. If it's your birthday, you. Mm-mm-mm. All right, from both sisters. All right, Sandy and Michelle. Who is the most picky on their wine selection? Who's the one that says it's fine? It's not bad. I'll keep the. Don't take it away.
Oh,
And who's the
she's
one
the
that's
it's
like,
fine. Yeah, I'm a little pickier.
That's what I was sitting there. I was going, yeah.
Yeah.
She's definitely pickier.
Why?
I just-
something particular about the wine that says nah.
I mean, I am a big fan of that saying, life is too short to drink bad wine. And if it's not tasty to me, I'm not going to force it,
Got to respect that.
Yeah, I can agree to that. All right. All right. And what are the most annoying things that you still encounter in wine culture that you would think is like, yeah, you guys still do that? Or something that you're like, you still be like,
Well, it's probably the exact opposite of wine snob. It's the mommy juice culture.
Yeah, that's
That
her pet peeve.
is my
amazing.
pet peeve.
See, you just put me on
I
that place.
am
Check me.
smart
I love it.
enough to be able to figure out what good wine is, and I can go buy it.
Amazing.
And I don't need
you
to
know
put it
what?
in a sippy cup.
And I don't need to put it in a sippy cup. Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying. Thank you for clarifying. I love that. And you know what? I guess I use that word because that's the common word. But that was an amazing answer. And thank you for putting Mike the Realtor in his place. And for all you other people that think you know about wine, you better go and listen to Sandy and Michelle on Wines to Find podcast, because I already downloaded it and I'm going to listen and I'm going to drink some more wine tonight. I'm probably going to listen to an episode as I enjoy the rest of my Malbec.
Oh,
Oh,
sweet.
yay.
Thank you so much, ladies, for just taking the time to hang out with, me and my audience here and in Chicago. And, I definitely want to be able to put your episode up on the website and everywhere it goes. And it'll be on Apple and Spotify. And again, I'm going to send everybody to your website. Oh, you said not to, though, right?
Well, Instagram. We're most active on Instagram. Go check us out on Insta. Go check out our website. Yeah, yeah.
And our link tree has a lot of good information too.
Yeah.
There it is, everybody. You heard it straight from the wine experts, Sandy and Michelle. Whenever you need to go and running late to the store or to a date, go on her podcast, press play, and you'll know what to order. Thank you so much, ladies, again, for your time. I really appreciate it. Salud. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.